Hello everyone and welcome back to another video, another challenge circuit design contest playthrough. This time we have Lower Fishing Lake by Matty from Canada. Matty is an occasional viewer of the stream, and he seems to resent any kind of praise I give him. But I will say that he's produced some of my favourite courses, and is certainly one of the favourites to do well in this CC design contest. Speaking of favourites, Calamity Bay, certainly one of my favourite courses I've played in the game. I believe he told me that Lower Fishing Lake is based on a real life location that I think he said he took family holidays there. So I'm assuming this is the fishing lake down here, and we have an interesting looking routing working its way around the bay, out onto this peninsula, in a fairly varied way. And it's a Matty course, so it's probably going to be pretty good at the minimum. Fairly wide open fairway on the first. The further left we go, the shorter angle we get in, but we do also run the risk of this bunker, these trees, a real big hook is in the water, and if we hit a real bad one, we're blocked out by the trees a little as well. Fairly accessible pin. It's tucked in by the bunkers, but it has a bit of a backstop to help us out. I've got a fairly hefty headwind, so I'm just going to kind of play for the middle of the fairway. I quite like how this tree kind of defines the middle of the fairway. That's a very easy target to pick out, and obviously planting looks very natural, very good. I'm not sure how much useful feedback or criticism I can give Matty. I would be fairly comfortable in saying that he's far more polished, far more acclaimed designer than I am. I like this view of, is that a bridge in the background? Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was a kind of bridge or a pier. But pretty good second shot as well. Fairly gentle kind of handshake for the first hole. Lovely view across the bay of future holes. And a poor putt. So yeah, that's kind of a good example of a gentle handshake opening hole, because I should have birdied it really, and I didn't, and I've probably lost kind of half a shot to the field. So I'm assuming that's kind of our road in. Par 5 into the wind, second hole. So not the longest par 5, not the most difficult start. Is meant to be CC difficulty anyway, so that's looks like he's achieving that quite comfortably at this point in the round. Chance to get home in 2. If I had a more favourable wind, I assume on this spot the prevailing wind might be more likely to come in from this way across the lake. So I'm kind of playing against what I would imagine the regular wind to be, but yeah, it is what it is. Bit of fun, bit of oh, that was a bit framey. Not the best shot. Sorry for sounding and feeling a bit run down. Haven't been too active in the past week. Some of you will know that I've been working away. I took a week off my regular greenkeeping job to go back and work on building some bunkers, of course, in Essex. And it's been quite a busy week. Good fun. I'll enjoy the projects, but kind of 12-hour days, staying away on the road. Definitely takes it out of you. Right, a long par 4, but with the wind, obviously going to play shorter. Chance to open the shoulders and whack one down there. I suppose after 2 fairly not easy, but possibly more accessible, more scoreable opening holes, this is where we kind of start getting into it. into the round a little bit. And oh, that's a bit of a miss hit that's worked out alright, mainly because of the tailwind. Still a long second shot. Decent chance to feed the ball close down that slope, especially I imagine to a pin more in this kind of region than up the back. I'm going to struggle to feed one all the way back around there. So maybe a chance to be a bit forgiving to maybe a slightly tougher pin if it's tucked in behind this bunker. My swing is all over the place at the moment. I haven't played much in the past. Oh, that's a lovely view. In the last week. Look at that swing path on the putt. Terrible. Get out of it with a par, though. It's alright. If I'm going to play holes that badly and make par, I'm not too unhappy. Long par 3. Forgiving in the fact that the trouble is set way back from the green. It's a really awful shot for me to put it in one of these bunkers. But a nice little kind of visual trick to make it look like this fronts the green, when in reality I've got 40 yards of space at least, probably 4 or 5 clubs to run it up the front. So I'm going to try and hit a 6-iron and just feed it onto the front. Long par 3 like this, I probably don't mind a par, and I am quite a big fan of the view again. Dense in on this side and a bit of undergrowth here, but opens up for a view of the bay and across to kind of where we started the round. That's the clubhouse in the distance. Not the best swing again, but kind of did what I was trying. At least we're near the green and a chip and a putt, hopefully. Yeah. So, not too unhappy to make a par on a tougher long par 3. And then wind at the back again for a par 5. Tough pin position there. And this is about the furthest point out that we get on the course as well, I think, by the looks of things. Bit of a kind of holiday park out there. It's a cool little detail. Beach and a pier to moor your boats on and that. Houses over in the distance as well, so nice added details to the plot. I guess we want to hug this bunker as much as we can, and if we can really get hold of one, knock it over it and have a chance of going for the green in 2. Coming in from this direction with a long iron or a fairway wood is not going to be too easy to kind of hold the green or get one close, whereas we have a bit more chance coming in from this way. And a wide fairway kind of accentuates those angles. And again, another very good looking tee shot. And finally, a decent swing. Was hoping to draw it a little, get it slightly fast, but that's fine. Got a hold of it. And hopefully can feed a 6-iron. 7-iron's probably a bit short. You'll go for it. You'll try and play 7 and feed it in up off of this slope and get it close, and hopefully at least 2-putt for a birdie. Yeah, a bit faster than I wanted that time, but yeah, a long hole, but the wind made it very favourable, and I've just hit driver 7-iron into a 600-yard par 5. Hopefully, just coast this putt up nearby. Under hit that quite. Oh, did better than I expected. Maybe would have. I don't know how he did for plant meter, but maybe would have just thickened up some of the planting around here and kind of provide a bit more separation from the golf course to the kind of holiday area. Maybe I'm thinking about it too literally and too, yeah, being a bit nitpicky. Because I suppose being here, you get nice views of the course, but I can imagine maybe if I'm putting out on this green, I don't necessarily want to be watching people eat their barbecues and kids running around and everything. But yeah, maybe that's kind of looking at it from a different perspective, possibly being overly critical. It's the only thing I've kind of really had to criticize at this point, anyway. I like these kind of rocky planting areas are very unintrusive and very natural. The fact that it's kind of just integrated into the fairway, it's kind of like it's 130 yards away, so it's not impacting play at all. But kind of just introduces that as a little bit of a theme. Matty said that was something he tried to do so that when they come into play a bit later in the round, it's not so out of the blue. Does driver hold this fairway? Try and hit a bit of a draw. Yeah. Rewarding, the ability to shape a shot. Obviously quite easy to do that in game. A bit more difficult in reality, especially a draw. My real world golf game. Ooh, that's a nice shot. My real world golf game is I'm gonna call it a power fade, but my friends would call it a dirty slice. Back-to-back birdies, finally maybe getting warmed up a bit. Oh, sorry. This is a bit of a quirky hole. Kind of the central hazard is obviously this tree, and we can pick like laying up way back from the green, or we can go for a more aggressive, tighter drive, bringing the water into play, bringing the trees into play for a shorter second shot and a chance of coming in with a pitch or a wedge over this false front, versus if we're further back and we're maybe looking at kind of bouncing the ball through it. So that's obviously the kind of strategic aspect of this hole, and a really cool view through this chute as well out to another hole out there, and a nice view across around the bay. Not the best swing again, but got away with it. I think, no, it's probably his pitch territory, isn't it? Try and just get it over that little false front and hopefully hold it close. Nah, not a great shot. Chance at birdie. Probably not really deserved. Two fairly average shots. So I'm going to get the excuses in early. But yeah, I'm aching a lot. I've done a lot of shoveling. Shoveled the sand out, 30 tons of sand out in a 250 square meter bunker. And I've been cutting tiles of AstroTurf with a Stanley knife for several hours a day to revet the faces of the bunkers. So that's what's been keeping me occupied. A fairly short approach here. Matty's quite good at using these kicker slopes on the edge of the green and kind of making them naturally run into the surrounding areas of the green, rather than just purely sculpting the green site and leaving everything else. So that's a good natural look. Again, another strong visual. Get up. Not quite. Not the worst shot though. I'd be fairly happy with this in real life. And we'll probably putt it. Possibly deceptively difficult hole. You think a kind of 160 yard par 3 might be a good chance to make a 2. But anyway, come back to the clubhouse at 9. Sort of mid-length par 4, but playing with the wind again. I should probably stop commenting on the views because it's just going to be a consistent praise, isn't it? Strong visuals. Fast again. Well, I really am playing this course terribly and not exactly doing it justice, but at least I'm having fun. Strong tailwind. between clubs maybe. I'm gonna hit 8. Oh, probably not the worst miss again. At least I'm fairly close to the pin. Got a short little chip. But I feel I will not be making the cut on CCD round here with a 2-under front line. Possibly one of the easier courses that I've played out of the lot so far. Like, it definitely feels scoreable, and I have played pretty terribly to only be 2-under. But at the same time, I've got a fairly hefty wind, so that maybe mitigates some of the scoring opportunities a little. This hole's going to play long into the wind. What is it? Only 509 off the whites. Uphill into the wind. Punch bowl green, or at least a sort of punch bowl. This kind of being a key slope and a bit here. Maybe doesn't quite save you at the back so much, or runs away. But is that? I can just see a flick of sand in that bunker at the top. Is that visible from elsewhere on the fairway? Just about, maybe. I suppose it's kind of implied by this bunker, which is a trick that I quite like. But maybe not knowing the bunker's there, maybe it doesn't work quite as well as I thought it did. But at the same time, I feel like I give it a pass because it's I do have the scout cam and I can actually see some sand. So, oh, it doesn't matter if you hit it like that. That's an awful shot again. I can see this playing as one of the toughest holes on the course, and that's an awful miss. Chipping back down the green, out of the heavy rough. Well, obviously not that tough a hole. Probably didn't design it with that kind of shot in mind, or with that way of playing it. We do the same sort of trick with this bunker. Looks like it's fronting the green, but again, we've got maybe 20, 30 yards of room. Don't mind that we're reusing the same trick because it is quite cool, looks quite nice, and it's a good way of kind of making a shot look more difficult than it is, and then that can bring it'll make it a bit more exciting when you hit a really good shot because you thought it was very difficult. Kind of, I guess, it's sort of artificially boosting the enjoyment of a round. Probably more so for golf in the real world than on the game, because I shouldn't ever be going in that bunker in the game. To be fair, probably shouldn't be going in it in the real world either. But it's kind of going to be something that's in your mind, and then the fact that you've negotiated it successfully makes you feel like you've succeeded. So, kind of a cool trick, and he's pulled it off very well the couple of times that he's used it so far on the course. So. I'm guessing, yeah, we want to be further right. We have that little tree sort of defining the right edge of the fairway because it's obviously blind over that hump. But the further right we go, the less we're coming in over this bunker and sort of a chance to feed the ball close off of this slope as well. So that's quite a cool way of showing you the blind shot ahead of you. Played a little bit safe. I'm not really trusting my swing. Between clubs again, probably need to sort out the spacing between my gap wedge, or my wedges, and then my pitching wedge. But now's not the time to worry about that. Just try and throw a dart in there. Yeah, not a bad shot. Again, I imagine this sort of greenkeeper shed or maintenance yard or whatever you want to call it, maybe have a bit thicker trees in front of it and sort of hide it. Um, if you kind of want to create the sort of natural vibe um, that a lot of golf courses like. Obviously, it's one of the best sports for being out and surrounded by nature and seeing the kind of industrial side of it can maybe break the immersion a little. Obviously, a lot of courses do try and hide their maintenance yards. I guess this is drivable off forward tees, potentially, especially with a tailwind, but there's a lot of trouble around the green, and a sort of lion's mouth vibe, but we're playing to straight over the bunker. So there's not necessarily a preferred place to hit it unless we absolutely nail one up into here, and then we can sort of have a bump and run. I like that rock in the bunker face as well. Again, sort of really subtly, sort of not brought too much attention to it, blends in quite nicely, um, and isn't really in the line of play in that there's kind of long iron hybrid area if I'm laying up. Um, I suppose there's plenty of options off the tee. Do I want to lay up and have a shot straight kind of down the length of the green there, but be surrounded by trouble on all sides? And if I get it slightly wrong, I'm coming in over this hump and over this bunker. Play a bit, maybe a bit more safe off the tee this side. It's a bit of a flatter lie, but I'm coming in straight over that bunker and over that mounding. Or I can hit a fairway wood with this tailwind, but have to thread the needle. Or I can try and bomb a driver and just be up close by the green. And I think that's probably the option I'm going to take. Not the best shot, but at least I'm kind of near the green. Gonna be a tough one to hold. So maybe not quite as accessible as I was hoping. Pretty happy with that. I'm not sure I managed to get any closer into playing that hole any different way. But that did require executing a fairly tough shot, and even more so in reality, kind of hitting that flop shot in the real world would have been mighty tough. Right, these trees present a fairly large problem. To get a view at the green, maybe we have to fly this bunker and get it as far left as possible. If we go right, we could look at drawing one in, maybe use those slopes to our advantage. But I'm just going to try and hit the middle of the fairway and see. I like those bunkers. Oh, that's not the middle of the fairway, is it? That's terrible again. I could just go back to the tee, because I was trying to say it before I realised how bad my shot was. I like this string of fairway bunkers that point us the correct direction. Obviously, we're slight dog leg left to right, and they point us over towards the green. Now I've got to negotiate all sorts of trouble with my layup. Probably play out this way and have a pitch at the green. It rolls down the hill nicely, and no, I'm gonna have to pitch that, aren't I? I'm gonna have to play a. No, I'm gonna be risky. I don't like kind of partial pitch shots. I'm not very good at them. So hopefully this can kind of just bounce on towards the green, towards the pin, and finish nearby. Perhaps a tad unrealistic. I'm not sure many people would have tried to play the shot like that in the real world. Maybe would have tried to go along the ground with a little 8-iron bump and run or something, but again, that also doesn't work too well in the game. Again, maybe a birdie that I didn't quite deserve, especially not off the tee. That was a terrible drive. This is a really pretty hole. Across the bay, bit of a river coming in. I think we crossed that on the previous hole, didn't we? Yeah, but it didn't really come into play there. I guess it doesn't really come into play here either, but is a nice visual thing. So I suppose maybe again, if I'm being super critical, we could have used the river as a kind of defining feature of a couple of holes. But we've got enough water in play. We've got the bay coming over it, and again we look maybe like it's a more difficult shot than it is. We've got plenty of room to avoid the water, but it would almost certainly be in your mind that a miss hit is going to be wet. And I've also, again, got a bit of interest to the green. Matty tends to be quite good at making greens that have a lot of different movement to it, but still making it feel natural. It's something that I need to be able to do better. How we've got kind of this slope falling to the right, this slope falling to the left, maybe a collection area here, a bit of a tier there. I tend to be a bit more one-dimensional in my greens, so something that hopefully I can work on. And his work is often quite a good example to follow. One thing I will say, I feel like I've had a lot of 8-irons into par threes. But it was one of the things that Matty said was part of why he tried to integrate some rocks earlier in the course is for these holes around here so they don't feel so alien. And I think he's done that very well. That felt like a very natural setting. It doesn't feel like the rocks are out of place at all. Again, like this one's now, I suppose if we didn't have the wind at our back, that would be in play. But I'm probably fairly safe hitting it straight over it with still a reasonably hefty tailwind. But then this one's protecting the green as well. And if I remember right, one of the challenges Matty took on was holes without bunkers. And I think these last two, yeah, were bunkerless. And I think there was one other as well. Is it this one here around the bay? Where I suppose, yeah, he's done that very well because I didn't even notice when I played this one. I commented on the kind of quirkiness of using that tree as sort of a central hazard. And then here he's used the rocks as kind of proxies for bunkers. But that's obviously been done very well because it's taken me 3 of the different holes to realise, and I would have only noticed as well because I checked his forum post about it. So that's pretty well nailed. A little bit pushy. It's going to make it a longer second shot. And a slightly punishing green, falling away. Don't really want to miss right. This water and this rock kind of impacting my layup zone, but with this tailwind, hopefully this chases up to the front of the green and kind of settles at least a simple pitch or simple chip. Another really nice looking shot. And I feel like a lot of people would have got rid of these trees. So kind of maybe a bit of a brave decision, but it works really nicely. Having the trees around the back of the green rather than just an open view of the lake. Get lucky. That's what I was worried about. Probably not really the place to miss, but not too punishing, I suppose. And a bit more meat on the bone than I'd have liked as well with this putt, but yeah, that 4 in a row? It is. And now a genuinely drivable par 4. And I think we finish on a par 3. But we definitely don't want to be long. That looks like obviously a collection area, and then chipping kind of back slightly, kind of green would be falling away from us with a front to get over. Obviously that is the back, but if we go long, it becomes the front. Especially to that pin. Fairly small green. It's still, I think it runs into the problem that most video game drivable par 4s run into. That going for the green is reasonably automatic. Because my chance of making birdie from back here are probably just as good as my chance of making birdie from down here, without sort of getting a lot of water involved, and then you run the risk of completely negating the option of going for the green. In fact, interestingly, it's less drivable from the forward tees. Those trees blocking it out. It's only 281, so I suppose that kind of makes it play. Oh, stroke your next one. That's interesting. So maybe it isn't quite as automatic as I'm expecting. Do people get where do people lose all their shots then? Because I feel like we've got a reasonably good chance of sort of holding the green and then a 2-putt birdie, or at least a chip from around the green for an up and down and a good chance of birdie. So I'd be interested to know where the. Maybe I'll find out in a second, won't I? Because the green doesn't look particularly devilish. It's got a bit of life to it. So maybe I'm wrong in what I've been saying about that hole. Maybe it isn't an automatic. Maybe if people have shorter drivers. But I'm playing into a strong headwind there, and I've knocked up near the green. So if there's a less of a wind or a tailwind, is going long the difficulty? I'm not really sure. Not the best chip again, but hopefully I can kind of prove my point. Nice view of the lake. Yeah. So having missed the green with my drive, I know I didn't miss it terribly, but could maybe argue that I should have been more punished. Didn't even hit a great chip and still made a relatively easy birdie. And then a brave little par 3 as the finishing hole. Not usually the biggest fan of par 3 18ths. I think you kind of lose some of the excitement of like leading or chasing the tournament leader down the stretch. A lot of pressure on the final drive, and if you can put it in a good position to have a go at the green and make a birdie, or if it's a par 5, maybe go for it in 2 and make an eagle. But in kind of isolation from the fact that it's the 18th, again we've got this bunker kind of fronting the green, but at a distance. It's like almost too short again. Like shouldn't really be running the risk of flirting with any of these bunkers. But they look like they're protecting the green, so again, kind of maybe in the mind of the golfer, ramps up the difficulty of the shot. That's an awful swing, but has kind of cancelled itself out with the fact that it was a push, but also fast. So found the green at least and had another sort of undeserved birdie opportunity, but dare say this one's probably beyond me. And hopefully bogey free. I've absolutely smashed that. That's lucky that hit the hole. 29 hits on the back nine. 5 birdies in a row for a 63, 8 under. So, yeah, might if I played like that, might sneak the cut in CCD. Probably. It's normally about 15 under, I think, for 2 rounds. So that was a good fun round. Definitely scoring opportunities there because I don't feel like I played fantastically. Um, that's interesting because it told me that 17 was handicap 1. But okay, maybe that's a problem with the game. Um, not sure what's happened there, but yeah, good fun course. Kind of expected from Matty, uh, and he'll possibly resent me for saying it, but almost certainly to do very well in the contest, and one that I would be happy to play again and again and again, and look forward to its inevitable spot on tour. So thanks very much for watching, guys. Thanks for the course, Matty. Hopefully catch you in another stream or video sooner rather than later.